primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised.
Billions of people just living out their lives, oblivious. Choice is an illusion created between those with power and those without.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Thank you, John Larson. I receive your kind words on behalf of all of our courageous members of the House of Representatives who want the best for the American people. And what we can do that is best for them in the next 24 hours is to pass affordable, accessible health care for all Americans. The best for all Americans is to have 32 million more people to have health insurance in our country. The best for...
Piece of stinking filth.
Shh, say it again, Shali. This is AJ of the InfoWars. Listen to the Shaliak. This is Alex Jones of InfoWars. Listen to Shaliak on the Cold Reality News and Report.
This is the coolest thing I have ever seen.
Well, hello there.
This week on Cold Reality Radio. U.S. and Russia agree on the ceasefire in southwest Syria, says Lavrov. Dirty tricks on Donald Jr. Gathered with members of campaign for meeting with Russian lawyer before election. On a positive note, Shia LaBeouf arrested for disorderly conduct and public drunkenness. He never disappoints. Pence quietly courts big donors and corporate executives. private dinners fuel speculation on what the left hand is doing. Elderly woman flashes stunned crowd at Dodger Stadium. That must have been a treat. New York City subway riders fed up with chronic delays. Conductors may refuse to work. Ancient stone monuments may have been used for mysterious moonlit ceremonies. Congress faces healthcare budget. Trump Asian allies seek counter to North Korea. China not living up to what they spoke about in the conversation with Orange Hitler. That and more complete nonsense and insanity on today's edition of Cold Reality Radio here on the UCY.TV broadcasting network. It is July 9th, or what I consider almost halfway through the summer. Actually, the weather's hasn't been that bad as far as humidity. Last week, the mid 80s, well, cloudy most of the time, but not a big fan of the heat and the humidity. And I can take the heat, not so much the humidity. But so the G20, where all of the flattering titles get together and talk about what's good for plain Earth. And a lot of, positive things that we've heard out of the alternative media, if you will. Not so much the mainstream. They look for any little window, any opportunity to crush Donald Trump. It's still very, very hard for me to believe, that we've reached this particular point in time where Donald Trump is the president of these here corporation states. And I'm obviously not fooled by the all these flattering titles. These are everything about this fake reality is just that. It is a fake system that was created to benefit only a small percentage of the ones that created it. And the rest is we are cannon fodder. We're constantly brought into the mix like what we say means anything at all. And we really don't. It's an absolute. We're in the necessary. We're the little gear that kind of spins in there amongst the other, super gears. But if we were to just, loosen that gear, and that gear was to move out of alignment, we could cause a lot of problems for the system. And like we've heard so many times before by guests on the program, Greg from New Jersey, Wall Street guy, entrepreneur, that all it would take is for us to stop participating in the system for 30 days. Just test it. Test it for 2 or 3 days. And the bottom line here is that, the people would die. But people are going to die anyway. Don't go to work. Don't go to school. Don't participate in combat. Don't participate in the system. Now, of course, you would need people to monitor what was going on. But, pay your bill, your phone bill or whatever, your internet bill, and keep that rolling for a little bit so you can see how the system requires the consent of the commoners. Then you'll find out how important you are. But while you're participating in the system, you're not important. It's like the inverse reality. Like you're important, but you're really not. You don't really decide who, becomes the president, considering what we've heard. The superdelegates, how things change, how things move around. And if we don't participate in the system, then of course this would take a monumental collaboration from people that have been largely divided and disenfranchised. We hear that word quite a bit. Now, we really are getting to a point now where I see where we see the continuity of agenda. The continuity of agenda. And I'll give you an example, okay? So I'm out at this yearly event where there's a lot of speakers there. And let's see, who's this? And there's a man there from South Africa. His name is Simon Roche. And he is traveling around America because what's happening in South Africa is the lead up to a civil war, to a genocide. And that was verified by, and you can see that you can find this guy on YouTube. Just type in Simon Roche, SIMON ROCHE. He's South African. probably of the descendants of other of white people that that populated South Africa. And he believes and has created a organization called Sightlanders. And he's traveling across America to raise awareness, again, because he was told by a government official, a United States congressman or senator, I forget who it was, but there's different stages till you get to a civil war or a genocide, an event of genocide, and they're like just 2 steps away. And then the guy said, it looks like it's being manufactured. There's been farmers that have been murdered, and their farms have been destroyed. You can't sustain life without farms. It's what's happening here in America with Farmageddon. You got your Farmageddon could be related to Big Pharma, but there's other documentaries about what's going on with our farms. There's many documentaries out there that most Americans will not even see. They will not even watch, because everything's fine. Everything's great. We're number one. We're the beacon of hope. We're the world police. We're Team America. And there's nothing that's going to, we just get past this, this election. And once everybody calms down, there's going to be, just people settling in. Not the case. Not the case. Because what's going on in South Africa, and I've already kind of warned people that I know that have said that they're going there very soon for a vacation. And that sounds great if there wasn't a civil war and a almost guaranteed genocide of the South African people there. Now, I know that over time, and I made contact with this gentleman, Roche, and I'm going to try to get him on to talk about what's happening. But I think maybe one of the best breakdowns of or conversations that Roche had was with Stefan Molyneux. And like him or not, Molyneux does a pretty good interview, and he breaks down things in a way that, of course, he covers the history. In the first 45 minutes to an hour, he covers the history of what took place in Africa, on the African continent. And of course, there was, the British Empire's hidden hand or the hand of those who wished to exploit Africa. And of course, you got your Blood Diamond movie and the things like that tell a much different story. Okay, that's what Hollywood does, because Hollywood is part of the deception machine, the degenerative. They are degenerates, and they also are they destroy any narrative, and they feed people lies, and then they'll say based on a true story or based on this or based on that. It's very, very, far from the truth. It sounds like Trump now with his, very, very's and his So Roche has been told that they're only a couple steps away. There's an EFF, Economic Freedom Frontier or whatever there, that's led by someone named Mamela. Okay, and if you listen to him, that's Mamela. If you listen to him and some of his speeches at some of these events at one of these stadiums there, he says there's not going to be a white genocide yet. And what I believe is happening very, very soon is that there's going to be a takeover of properties and things in South Africa. They're just going to be like, this is ours. This never belonged to you, that type of thing. Kind of like what we've been seeing here with regards to Mexico and some of these other, land grabs and who had this land at one time. And it's we know that it's all bullshit. It's all divide and conquer strategy. What they're saying is, and so the Sightlander people are they're looking for donations. They're looking for any way that they can to be able to protect themselves. One story that was told, he didn't say it when or at least I didn't catch that portion of it. But he said that a 3-year-old girl was raped by 4 and then set on fire, still alive. Okay. This is said by an official from Washington, D.C., another flattering title person, Genocide Watch, saying this looks like it's being manufactured. This looks like it's being manufactured. So this is continuity of agenda, because it is that same type of thing is happening here, where Google is, and let me pull this up because I just saw it yesterday, and everything's coming to a head, folks. Everything's coming to a head. Lynching in America, okay? This is what's being brought up. Okay, there is a website called lynchinginamerica.egi.org. Okay, with support from Google. Okay, lynching in America, confronting the legacy of racial terror. This is the last fucking thing. This is the last thing that we need. We know these things happened. They were awful. They were manufactured by Democratic Party operatives. All of this racial terror was to bring us to this point where we are today. Okay? So if you go to lynchinginamerica.egi.org, and there's a commercial, and I'll play this for you, all right? This site features painful stories of America's history of racial injustice. In order to heal from the deep wounds of our present, we must face the truth of our past. After slavery was formally abolished, lynching emerged as a vicious tool of racial control to reestablish white supremacy. Okay, now these are the operatives. This is the deep state in its earlier forms in America, and suppressed the black civil rights. More than 400,000 African Americans were lynched across 20 states between 1877 and 1950. These lynchings were public acts of racial terror intended to instill fear in the entire black communities. Government officials frequently turned a blind eye or condoned the mob violence. The effect of racial terror lynchings are still felt today. All right. Let's see here. I'm getting some cross here. So this is a kind of one of these Google commercials from this guy, Brian Stevenson, who spoke at TED. We need to talk about an injustice, okay? We know this happened. This is just going to, and it's meant to do this. It's meant to stoke hatred at the worst fucking time and the worst instability that's going on in America today. Google and these motherfucking scumbags are pushing this site, and they're going to bring anger and resentment and violence is what is intended for this site to do. We're already a fucking powder keg, and this fucking site is going to, and this initiative here is going to stoke more hatred and violence and killing in America just at the worst fucking time, just as it's collapsing. This is an agenda, and it's happening over in South Africa as well. It's happening over in South Africa as well. This is a global continuity of agenda. And it's going to create a vicious hatred that we do not fucking need at this time. And this guy, Stevenson, he's probably, the Equal Justice Initiative. So here we are with social justice taking on another face, and it's going to cause and destabilize this corporation even more as it crumbles. Let's listen to what Brian Stevenson talked about at TED. Now, this is not a coincidence. Ideas worth spreading, TED.
Well, this is a really extraordinary honor for me. I spend most of my time in jails and prisons on death row. I spend most of my time in very low-income communities, in the projects and places where there's a great deal of hopelessness. And being here at TED and seeing the stimulation, hearing it, has been very, very energizing to me. And one of the things that's emerged in my short time here is that TED has an identity. And you can actually say things here that have impacts around the world. And sometimes when it comes through TED, it has meaning and power that it doesn't have when it doesn't. And I mention that because I think identity is really important. And we've had some fantastic presentations. And I think what we've learned is that if you're a teacher, your words can be meaningful, but if you're a compassionate teacher, they can be especially meaningful. If you're a doctor, you can do some good things, but if you're a caring doctor, you can do some other things. So I want to talk about the power of identity. And I didn't learn about this actually practicing law and doing the work that I do. I actually learned about this from my grandmother. I grew up in a house that was the traditional African-American home that was dominated by a matriarch, and that matriarch was my grandmother. She was tough, she was strong, she was powerful. She was the end of every argument in our family. She was the beginning of a lot of arguments in our family. She was the daughter of people who were actually enslaved. Her parents were born in slavery in Virginia in the 1840s. She was born in the 1880s, and the experience of slavery very much shaped the way she saw the world. My grandmother was tough, but she was also loving. When I would see her as a little boy, she'd come up to me and she'd give me these hugs, and she'd squeeze me so tight I could barely breathe. And then she'd let me go. And an hour or two later, if I saw her, she'd come over to me and she'd say, "Brian, do you still feel me hugging you?" And if I said no, she'd assault me again. And if I'd say yes, she'd leave me alone. And then she just had this quality that you always wanted to be near her. And the only challenge was that she had 10 children. My mom was the youngest of her 10 kids. And sometimes when I would go and spend time with her, it'd be difficult to get her time and attention. My cousins would be running around everywhere. And I remember when I was about 8 or 9 years old, waking up one morning, going into the living room, and all of my cousins were running around. And my grandmother was sitting across the room staring at me. And at first I thought we were playing a game. And I would look at her and I'd smile, but she was very serious. And after about 15 or 20 minutes of this, she got up and she came across the room and she took me by the hand and she said, "Come on, Brian, you and I are going to have a talk." And I remember this just like it happened yesterday. I never will forget it. She took me out back and she said, "Brian, I'm going to tell you something, but you don't tell anybody what I tell you." I said, "Okay, Mom." She said, "Now you make sure you don't do that." I said, "Sure." Then she sat me down and she looked at me and she said, "I want you to know I've been watching you." And she said, "I think you're special." She said, "I think you can do anything you want to do." I will never forget it. And then she said, "I just need you to promise me 3 things, Brian." I said, "Okay, Mom." And she said, "The first thing I want you to promise me is that you'll always love your mom." She said, "That's my baby girl, and you have to promise me now you'll always take care of her." Well, I adored my mom, so I said, "Yes, Mama, I'll do that." Then she said, "The second thing I want you to promise me is that you'll always do the right thing, even when the right thing is the hard thing." And I thought about it, and I said, "Yes, Mama, I'll do that." Then finally she said, "The third thing I want you to promise me is that you'll never drink alcohol." Well, I was 9 years old, so I said, "Yes, Mama, I'll do that." I grew up in the country in the rural South, and I have a brother a year older than me and a sister a year younger. And when I was about 14 or 15, one day my brother came home, and he had this 6-pack of beer. I don't know where he got it. And he grabbed me and my sister, and we went out in the woods, and we were kind of just out there doing the stuff we crazily.
All right, so I'm not going to play the entire thing here, but you can find it at this lynching in America, okay? And this gentleman, okay, seems to be a very caring individual. He seems to have had very, very strong family roots. You heard him say that despite all of what his grandmother asked him to do was always do the right thing, even if the right thing was the hardest thing to do. And apparently and I'm going to do some more research on this. Okay. He wound up in the prison system, like is designed. As designed, this young black man winds up in prison. Because our society is designed that way. And until people start to realize, white and black, that this is an agenda, not just by white people, like regular, everyday white American people. This is a agenda that comes from the people that handle Hillary and Bill and these Democratic operatives that have done nothing for these inner cities. We hear that if you listen to if you go to RT.com and you listen to Chris Hedges, he's had him a liberal for the most part. There's really only one thing that I disagree with him on, because he doesn't see the bigger picture. He doesn't see the bigger picture. But he sees enough of it, and that's okay by me. But you will find that these Democratic operatives, these people that get into these, these seats of power, white and black, are not given the tools that they need to be able to make these inner cities better. Look at Ferguson, look at Baltimore. There's a lot of obstacles that are in the way of a young black man or any young teenager. Unfortunately, the black people are more of a statistic in this realm. And so they've been led by, they've been walking the devil's dog. They've been believing in these people. They still praise Margaret Sanger, wanting to put her on money, this woman was a vicious racist who hated black people. She made any number of statements when she was working with and giving speeches to the Ku Klux Klan. How is it that we're so disconnected from this information, that these groups of people, that liberals still believe that Margaret Sanger was about goodness? How the fuck does something like that happen? Just pure evil. People that want to create death, people that want to kill babies, Planned Parenthood at its core, maybe not the people working in that system. They think, I was pregnant once and they helped me. So there's that little bit of realness in the unreal, or the realness in the lie that Planned Parenthood is. They will help a certain amount of people who decide, I'm going to keep the child. I just need help here and there. They drive medical, medical aspect of it in there, so that when someone attacks Planned Parenthood, you have your SJWs out there that are like, how can you say such a horrible thing about such a great, needed organization? See, that's how you get the two fake realities, one more real than the other aspect of it. And when people need help, when people need whatever they think that they need, they support that and they will defend it, just like Morpheus said. Some are so inert and so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will fight to protect it. And so now Brian here comes from one of these families, Brian Stevenson. And instead of talking about reform and talking about how Bill and Hillary Clinton accelerated black youth and, these mega super predators that she, the statement that she made. Because, they had to fit her in some way. But, I mean, she was basically, this was a two-person deal, this Clinton administration. She defended a man who raped a child, and she got him off of it. She got him off of those charges, and he walked away. And then she chuckled and giggled. These are demons. Now, I'm not saying that. I mean, Trump is going to, and has already, and is going to do. Maybe not those same things, but people are going to die as a result of Trump's administration. This is the way it is. World War III is going to happen. World War III has already started. So this Brian Stevens, instead of talking about prison reform like they've been talking about, of course, Obama started talking about that to get votes and, to make people think that he's something that he's totally not. Just like Reagan, a lot of the things that he said or that they said that he did not do. He did not bring, about the fall of the Soviet Union. It was happening. It was already underway. It was already underway. But yet we get fed these fucking superhero things. Oh, Reagan's a superhero. Reagan's a this and Reagan's a that. And I got to tell you, it's sick. We just live in a sick society. Now, this Brian Stevenson, may have all well and good intentions, but he's bringing up a topic that, not saying that he shouldn't bring it up, but it's being strategically brought up. Someone is funding him to bring these things up. And when you start talking about 4,000 people that were lynched at this time, you are stoking a genocide. You're stoking a genocide of black and white people. You are dividing and conquering even further. And you're going to create more death. That's what this is intended to do. It's intended to divide, conquer, and kill a percentage of those who listen to what this guy is going to say, that will go to this website and it will stir up all of these things. The media does it all the time. The media does it all the time. Hollywood does it all the time with movies that, and it's been strategically done. And I'm not saying these are bad movies. I'm not saying these are, but they're telling a mutated version of a story, and it's going to, it already has resulted in racial genocide. And so We cannot heal the deep wounds inflicted during the era of racial terrorism until we tell the truth about it. Now, the truth is not going to be told about it. The real truth about it is not going to be told. What is going to be pushed is that white people hated black people so much that they wanted to enslave them, and they wanted to lynch and kill them. The Equal Justice Initiative believes we need to change the narrative about race in America in order to advance our collective goal of equal justice for all. That's what Mamela is talking about over in Africa. This is a global agenda. No matter what well intentions that Brian Stevenson has, this is going to create genocide. It's meant to awaken the darker side of what we are and create a genocide on both sides. While these elite banking bloodline families sit back and watch white people and black people and basically commoners, economic slaves, economic pawns, kill each other to get them closer to their goals. With the support of Google, EJI has created an interactive experience inspired by the original report. This project tells the story of racial terror in America and explores how its legacy continues to shape our nation today by creating a digital experience for a wide audience. EJI hopes to spark, there goes a key word, an honest conversation. It's not going to spark an honest conversation about the racial history. It's not going to bring the truth about, because the truth is that the intelligence agencies and the elite 0.01% that have always been in control and have always been in power created the KKK to divide people while they were murdering our young men over in Vietnam, murdering people in Asia, in the Asian spectrum, Henry Kissinger. That is the truth. That is the truth. So and so that people don't, that truth is out there on some level, they need to do this. They need to do this. They need to bring Stevenson to this TED conference and have him start saying words like deep wounds inflicted, racial terrorism, lynching. We need to tell the truth before we're going to get a fair shake in America. Founded in 1989 by Brian Stevenson, a widely acclaimed public interest lawyer and best-selling author of Just Mercy, EJI is a private 501c3, there you go, nonprofit organization committed to challenging racial and economic injustice and providing legal representation to people who have been illegally convicted, unfairly sentenced, or abused in state jails and prisons. Okay, that right there sounds like an incredible. It sounds like this should be focused on that, not lynching in America, justice in America, racial justice in America. That would be, I think, can be acceptable. But this here, this Equal Justice Initiative, this is just another ADL. The ADL covers for the crimes of the people that they support, and now this Equal Justice Initiative is going to stir up racial angst and the whole Trump election and all that other stuff. I mean, dude, this is an agenda, step by step by step by step. America is going to burn. That is the goal. It is going to burn. It is going to get to the point where South Africa is right now with just two steps away from civil war and the possible genocide of any white South African that's there. Apparently 800,000. I mean, Africa is a huge continent. But I mean, you've got the drone bombings, Somalia that happened over the July 4th weekend. You've got there are things going on right now that that people that the normal average commoner, white and black, have no fucking idea is going on. But the goal is to drive stories, narratives from the past, like the racial injustice, which is real. That is real. But we tell the truth about it. Are we going to tell the truth about it? No, the truth's not going to be told about it. It's just being brought. It's just resurfacing now because the distraction is needed. The distraction is needed. And I'm going to reach out to Roche, and I'm sure I can get him onto the program. And another thing that I wanted to say, and I don't want to forget it, is that Jules, we know, or at least I know, I don't know I don't know who knows what about what's going on there, but I hope that you're doing well, and I hope that you're recovering, I hope to hear some good news soon. In that from your camp there, and I've been worried about you, and as well as others. So I believe this is what these TED conferences are. Everybody holds them in such high regard for their scientism, for their CRISPR, this gene editing that they're pushing now. The goal is not whatever they say at these TED conferences. Okay, at the core, anything that gets created that's powerful, anything that gets created that can be used to possibly better mankind, to eradicate disease, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Science, real science, is for them. The commoners and the globe heads and the science heads and all these other people, scientism is there for you to join this fake, just like the Catholic Church, join our fake organization, and we'll fill your head with shit, and we'll direct you and guide you by being God, by being the vicar of Christ, which is demonic and satanic, and of course that's what it is. So we have scientism, which is a religion. People buy into it. They believe everything that they've heard about genetics from this illegitimate fucking lying system. Okay? But people need to believe so bad. They're so inert, so helplessly dependent on the system that they will fight to defend it. And I hear it every day, every comment that I make that says, why would we believe known liars? Why would we, and I know that's kind of coming from the Jones camp, but it's very effective, and it sounds, and it makes a whole lot of sense. Why would we accept anything from these organizations that have lied to us about, that they lied about the Gulf of Tonkin, they lied about everything, you know, and then you get jackasses like Joe Rogan, who doesn't have an awful program, but then at one point it's like, totally, there's no way we went to the moon. Totally no way that we went there. And then when he realized that his podcast was like fucking exploding and he was making a lot of money and he was becoming, not your average commoner, okay, then he decided, I'm just, go along to get along. Go along to get along, because the ultimate goal is your own selfishness. You will ignore, through ignorance, you will ignore what needs to be brought to the surface, and then you will use your own selfishness to keep yourself where you are, to keep yourself being relevant in a world that is soon going to be an absolute fucking 3-alarm fucking fire. I don't know what level we are as far as genocide or civil war, okay, but we're not that far behind whatever Simon Roche was saying. These same elements are stoking this EFF, this Mamela guy, and he is, if you go and watch the video, the Stefan Molyneux, or if you go to there and watch the interview with John B. Wells, the Caravan to Midnight guy, you will see videos of what's going on there. You will see Mamela speaking. You will see Mamela speaking at a stadium, and the things that he's saying. This guy. You could say, if you needed an example, which we know who the example is every time, Hitler. They'll show you all these things of him like, blah, 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 blah. Well, Mamela's doing the same thing over there, basically saying you're gonna give up your property because it doesn't belong to you, and the Sightlander people are going to fight. Even if they die, they will fight. All right. And the only news network that is talking about any of this is RT. You're not hearing anything about this in the U.S. media. You're not hearing anything. So that's pretty disturbing. So because it's something that even when, if it does start, and I hope it does not, you're going to get very, very little information back here. And if they have to, then you're going to hear lies and disinformation about what is happening, what has happened, what brought them to this point. We're not hearing anything, but you got your if you remember what is it, Lethal Weapon, one of the Lethal Weapons, I think it was the second one, where this guy from South Africa, okay, because of course the apartheid and all that took place there, which is what I believe was set up to rule and dominate, just like the apartheid that's going on over in Gaza. How the Palestinian people are being treated. Same thing was going on down there. Same thing was going on in Africa. And then from that point, this was an inevitability. But if you don't realize who you're dealing with, if you don't realize the kind of evil that you're dealing with, then and I think, largely people have been, and there's no doubt that these Sightlander people are from a British descent. And what unfortunately is about to happen there is a result of that, the tinkering that is done. Because they know that what they do now, and Roche said this, he said, what we're seeing here now is these type of events are going to bear fruit for years to come, and then when it's done, when it's right, and it's picked, blood will spill. But then again, this has been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. Hundreds and hundreds of years. So it's not a surprise, but it is very, very sad, and it's very sad, and unfortunate. So I'm going to try to get him on the program, and in the meantime, again, if you want to look it up, if you want to take a look at what's going on, he has been interviewed any number of times. So Simon Roche, Roche, and we go from there. So the U.S. and Russia, they've agreed on a ceasefire in southwest Syria. right, which is obviously right next to Israel there, set to take effect on July 9th at noon Damascus time. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov announced. Lavrov was speaking following the landmark meeting between the Russian and U.S. president on the fringes of the summit. So, what does that even mean? What does it even mean? Let's see here. Because this has been going on so long because they need Assad out of there. They need him gone. There is no ceasefire that's going to happen here. It might be a ceasefire for a day or something, but just like any kind of peace settling between Palestine and Israel is always destroyed by some element. They always blame it on Hamas. Oh, they didn't want this. They know that of the disingenuousness, and they realize that there's never going to be, there's never going to be this two-state solution, and the world will burn before that fucking, before that happens. All right, so southwestern, there's Israel there, and there is Damascus. That's southwestern. So I doubt it. It's not. Now, if you just look at the entire area, because most people have no idea where anything is on, on these maps, and how accurate, the globe is another fucking absolute joke. So you got Libya there, and that was decimated. Then there's Benghazi right there on the right by the water, right by the Mediterranean Sea. Where all of the refugees, the migrants, left there and went into Greece, Italy, let's see, where's Germany? All right, let's see here. Africa is just fucking immense. Just the social and geographical engineering that's been done in this area of the world is just mind-boggling. Where the fuck is Germany here? Wow. All right, well, Germany, man. It's amazing to me how Germany is, through this whole thing, there's, I guess it was up through, let me see, where's Sweden here? So you got Greece, which is, that's not it. Greece, which is the closest there to Libya. And then you've got Syria, right? which Turkey wasn't going to allow any of those, any of the migrants from Syria, from the Syrian civil war up into Turkey. So they traveled through the Mediterranean Sea to into Greece, Bulgaria, Macedonia. And that's wild too, because you got Bulgaria, Macedonia, Albania, Bosnia, Romania, Hungary, Moldova. Wonder why they did not go that way. But we hear the countries that have been most affected by the migrants are, or the Muslims, are Italy, which is right there, as I said. There's Malta. Did Trump go there? And then you wonder how, through Italy, Austria, Switzerland, that Germany has been affected considerably by Germany and France have been affected the most. But Albania, I mean, they could have, Libya, they could have gone up into Greece, but they were steered into Italy. I guess that's the closest one. That makes sense too. In Greece. Where's Sweden? And you got the Ukraine there. Fucking Russia is just huge, man. Outrageous. So where's that? Ukraine, Donetsk. Kiev. Very interesting if this is what it fucking looks like. I don't know how they can be so accurate. I mean, just look at all this area here, man. Just looks like open fucking area, fucking Kazakhstan. It just doesn't look like there's a whole lot of shit there. But let's send some migrants and refugees into fucking Kazakhstan. You know, this shit's been going on for fucking ages. So you got your Saudi Arabia and your Yemen. I mean, they're just getting hammered, right? Then you got your Qatar, who is now being accused of funding terrorism, when we know that Saudi Arabia is one of the leaders in that realm, and of course, Israel, and consider that fucking Iran is just huge. So you got friggin' Yemen that's getting hammered. You got Somalia that was drone bombed over the 4th of July. Someone said it was because China is trying to manipulate things there. Botswana and South Africa, like I was talking about. And what the hell is that? Apparently there's a little island there, but it has no name. But I don't know. I do not think that it's a good time for people to be traveling to South Africa. Anyone that I know that's going there should probably, go somewhere, and they're in the middle of a civil war. What was that? Wasn't that? Who was it? The guy from Wedding Crashers. I forget what that movie was called. Their family, him and his family, are there, and they're in the middle of a civil war. I don't know if it was made by let's see here. Here. Head over to the chat room there. Good morning, chat room people. Really? That's good news. All right. Okay, great. Thanks, Maddie. Thanks, Hawks. All right, so yeah, I'm going to try to get on to get Simon Roche on, and I'm going to ask him some of these questions and the history of South Africa and what has happened there. Definitely not a good thing, man. I mean, not a good thing. And here we are, or we're moving down the road. I mean, this is something that, well, when people grow up there, it's their home. People ask them, like, why are you staying there? And then they're just like, this is our home. This is where we live. So that's a kind of an example of continuity of agenda. We see what's happening here, this lynching in America. Ted, this Brian Stevenson guy, be on the lookout for that. You'll probably even start, seeing television commercials. It's one thing people hearing about awful things that were done to people, or people, white people or black people, or But then when people, when it gets brought to the surface, I mean, this is the absolute worst fucking time for this type of information to be brought there. And the only thing that you can gather from it, the only reason why would they do this? It's to create more just hatred for things that happened in the past, dredging up the past, bringing this information is it's not a good thing, and it's not meant to do good. It's meant to do bad. But at the same time, it looks like, you know, somebody's got to bring it in, and it's just like, what did Morgan Freeman say? This is what he said.
Black History Month you find ridiculous. Why?
You're going to relegate my history to a month?
Oh, come on.
What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, come on, tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay. Which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh. Why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it.
Stop fucking talking about it. How are we going to get rid of racism? Stop talking about it. And of course, you would expect that from Mike Wallace. Okay, and of course, you know, every month is Jewish History Month, but with him here, he says, "Stop talking about it."
Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it.
Stop fucking talking about it.
I'm going to stop calling you a white man.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you to stop calling me a black man. I know you as Mike Wallace. You know me as Morgan Freeman.
And so this whole thing, I wish that, Morgan Freeman, if this was a genuine comment, that he go to this guy and say, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you," and say, "Do you know what this is going to do? Do you have any idea what you're a part of now with this? You think you're doing good things here, and you may have already done good things by writing this book and talking about it and just being this. If this guy's legit, if Stevenson is legit and not some kind of operative, okay? We know Obama was an operative, and they're all these people are all operatives. They're all used. They have some kind of dirt against all these people, whatever. But this Stevenson guy, he's got the law firm that is representing people that have injustice being done to them, right? So why would you double and triple down by going out there and getting involved in this whole lynching? Okay, do we need to go into details Do we need to go into detail about an awful event, an awful events of what people do to people? The only way I say for us to go in there to know that it was done and who it was done by, and discredit the Democratic Party and anybody back there. That would be the only way that I would be for something like this, if it was going to expose that Margaret Racist was an absolute rabid fucking hater of black people and all these things. That's the only way that I would be for it. And then, of course, that comment about we have to bring the truth out. You're not bringing the truth out. You're bringing the past back, and it's going to result in chaos. And what does Morgan Freeman say? Just stop talking about it. Stop fucking talking about racism.
Here's a stat from your show, and it says that the richest 85 people on this planet have as much money as the poorest 3.5 billion.
Yeah, right. That's on the planet, however.
It's not far off in America.
No, it isn't far off in America, but we still here don't abandon the idea that it isn't finite. It isn't finite if you were born. Where were you born?
Me?
Yeah.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Baton Rouge General Hospital.
Baton Rouge.
There you go.
Louisiana. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee. I had a long haul from where I came from to here, but here we are.
Right.
So proof of the pudding is in the eating, and here we sit at the dining table.
But it's hard to, when you say that to some people, because they say, oh, there you go with a pull yourself up by the bootstraps thing, and, you're just being respectable. Not everybody can do that.
Bullshit.
Everybody can. Everybody doesn't. Courage is the key to life itself. There are a lot of people who are born in situations where they say, I'll never get out of this. So they won't. I say to people who say, well, I would like to have done so and so and so. So you could have done it. So, well, I couldn't get out of here. Man, the bus runs every day.
The bus runs every day. And I agree, it's much harder, to move, from these awful environments.
All I want to do is have a conversation. I can't have a conversation with you if we're both talking at the same time. What it sounds like to me is that you're accusing me of violence and supporting a narrative that I'm not necessarily in support of. And if that's what you're accusing me of violence, then you can leave. That's not true. I don't support violence of any type against police officers, against anyone. So if you're accusing me of that, then you're welcome to leave. But if you want to have a conversation, I am more than willing to welcome a conversation with you. I don't disagree with you about there's a narrative across the country that could be harming police officers. But we don't know right now, as someone who's in law enforcement, if that was the actual cause of it. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Do we know that generally the American law enforcement officers are racist? Do we know this?
Go on.
I ask a question.
Do I know American general law enforcement are racist? I don't think anyone is accusing. If you're insinuating that people are accusing or saying that law enforcement across this country as a whole are racist, then your assumption is wrong.
First of all, this whole anti-police rhetoric is based on a lie. There is no data, and you know this. There is no data, there is no research that proves any of that nonsense. None.
You'd have to be more specific about what data and what nonsense you're talking about.
That law enforcement officers treat black males different than white males in policing in these urban centers.
There is data that's
there is not data.
No, the president spoke about it. Cedric Alexander, who is a law enforcement officer,
has been lying about it. He said it again the other day when he said black males are 2 times more likely to be shot by a law enforcement officer than white males. Don, that is a lie.
That is not a lie.
It is a lie.
Yes.
Show me.
Research.
Show me.
The research
Show it to me
that we have from the Washington Post. That
the Washington Post debunked that nonsense.
There's also research.
He also said this time.
There's also research.
He continues.
A Harvard professor that also showed that black people are treated more aggressively by police officers.
No, you are wrong in your interpretation of that Harvard study, because I read the study. That's not what he said. He said he was surprised to find
that in shootings of the most severe in shootings that he found no evidence that there was a difference. Also, it should be noted that that study was a very small sampling of police departments across the country. Many people did not find it credible, but
so that's David Clark talking with Don Lemon, and you can see, and what Clark is pointing out is that the media and even Obama, the president, things that he said and did that will never see any scrutiny at all. Obama did things covertly and overtly that he will never ever get any. That he was beyond criticism, Obama. Beyond criticism. Now, do I believe that? I do believe that there is, that police will pull over black people more often than they would pull over. It's something that has been embedded into us via Hollywood. What do you got? You've got the gangster rap that was supported by the music industry. And so Hollywood creates these narratives, the television shows that we see. I don't watch that many of them, but when I do, I'm like, what's the fucking topic of this? And then you find out that it's some fucking ridiculous topic, and that all it's going to do is that, I mean, if someone's actually watching this show and enjoys it, and says, "Oh, this was a really good topic. It was really an interesting episode of that." It's like you're fucked. You're absolutely fucked, because you just been entrained with information that's not true. But what do we see? As I said, in the 90s, everything is strategic. Everything that's been done via entertainment, and that includes stand-up comedy. That includes stand-up comedy. If you understand the Daily Show, what the job of the Daily Show was to take topics that would otherwise be, that would make people say, "Yeah, that's fucking awful. That's this, that's that." They find something funny about it, and then they'll make jokes about it, and people will laugh rather than actually do something about it or think more critically about that particular topic. And then Jon Stewart, not his real name, by the way, will get up there and start talking about Bush and weapons of mass destruction and all the lies, and every now and then he'll be like, "I'm angry." Or he wouldn't have to say that he's angry. You could see that he was elevated that his blood pressure was elevated about this particular topic, usually something that a Republican did. But then Obama saw absolutely no criticism whatsoever about any of this stuff, right? And the tragedy is that if people think that America was turned around by health care and then the approval of the Supreme Court for same-sex unions, if we think that was America being changed, Obamacare is collapsing. And honestly, that was only done. They don't care about you. They don't care. This system does not fucking care about you, whether you're a heterosexual or if you are a man who loves another man or a woman who loves another woman. They don't fucking care about you. They don't give a shit about you. And until people start realizing that they're just being used, to, the politicians and the entire system, this entire illegitimate system that's killing us covertly through medicine and all of these other fucking lies, until people realize that this is what's going on and this is what has been really happening, there is no turning this around. There is no understanding. There is no white people saying to black, and there are instances of it. But you will have a system out there that will not report what is not politically expedient, but will report something that will create more of a divide, more in Congress. Just like the O.J. Simpson trial is a perfect example. The Trayvon Martin trial, another example of how the system will divide, conquer, and create hatred and resentment about things that may or may not have happened. And who was really, truly responsible for the lynching of all of these black Americans. The democratic system, the KKK, was affiliated with the Democratic Party. So, on that note, have a good rest of your weekend. Get ready for Ron, rocking the boat, and just, figure out, realize that everything that this system said is a fucking lie. Every event, everything that they've said is a lie. If you want truth, you have to find it. You have to seek it. You have to seek truth. If you don't, then you're going to believe what this fucking scumbag system tells you.
There is only one holistic system of systems.
I will MK Ultra ya. Put the MK scope on ya. If the MK hits you, it's guaranteed to open ya. The 57mm Mark 110, 220 rounds a minute, try to stop them. Don't put that on your wish list, that's retarded babble. Protesters make the hit list soon as they start to rabble. They are nothing but fishes in the barrel. It doesn't have to be Christmas for a carol. Some decorate with ornamental decorum. Some perform shock and awe on Hanukkah and Purim. That's where my job come in. I am a blessing to the mercenary for the corporation selling weapons to them. Any potential competitor step into them. I'm authorized to knock them out and stick a GPS into them. They want to sell uranium to Iran that's enriched. That's a bitch. Now we got